G'day and welcome to another big edition of the Ballarat Football Netball League A-grade netball show. Thanks to our friends at McDonald's. Get around and they do a fantastic job for us in this competition. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, some big games that we had over the weekend. First weekend of the finals. Any surprises there for you?
Maybe one a little bit, but we had one side that wasn't at full strength, so I think that sort of took into account there. But obviously we had some big results, some big one-sided matches, and then obviously you had a couple of upsets. And look, and this week we've got the results right.
Yeah.
We did get a little textile reminding us. Melton South actually beat Sebastopol in that final round, so we have made sure we have got the right winners this week.
Thanks for the team down in Melton South for watching. It's fantastic. So we have hyped up. They've had a pretty good run towards the finals, and I think we'd be disappointed as anyone. They didn't sort of get that right at the right time of year. So look,
I think for them it was just they didn't get all their players together at the right time. Not having Naima for most of the season really killed them. If they had had her from the start, I think they would have been playing finals and we would have been talking about them this week.
Yeah, and they're a club that's had to come back from a long way as well. So that's if they had made finals, that would have been a positive talking point as well, just in the season proper. But anyway, it wasn't to be for them because we did have Sebas play finals and they had put on a good game on the weekend. But let's talk up one of the other big games, and we did see North Ballarat City and Sunbury Lions go toe-to-toe over at Eastern Oval.
It was, and North Ballarat City got up. So Sunbury Lions have had 2 losses in a row. It wasn't greatest conditions up there from what I believe. Very wet, very slippery, and I think speaking with Adam Balderson, they had 3 players go over in the first quarter alone on the slippery conditions. And look, it was a poor first quarter from Sunbury. They were down 15-5 at quarter time, and that was the story. They lost by 10 goals in the end, so that poor first quarter really cost them.
How much was that result the previous week sort of had an impact on them? Sorry, from the last round of the home and away.
I don't think a lot. I think for Sunbury Lions, speaking with Adam, he said they were a little bit always realistic about this first week of the finals. They had Kate Fletcher missing, who's generally their wing attack. She had VNL finals on the Sunday, and they were still missing Tani Adams as well. So you're missing 2 out of their starting 7, and you think any team in that top 6 missing 2 out of his starting 7, it is going to hurt come finals time, especially against a side against North Ballarat City, who were a grand finalist last year, always up the top of the ladder. So look, they were missing players and they were a little bit realistic what might go ahead, but they were still pretty disappointed with how they started. You can't shoot 5 goals in the first quarter of a final.
And that probably says a lot about how City's defence were as well. They're exceptional, and they've really hit form at the right time of year. To have that weekend off before the finals, that just would have been fantastic for them.
Look, it is. It could freshen them up, and look, if they get up this week, they could have 2 weeks off in 4 weeks. So don't know whether that's. I know some netball.
That's debatable, isn't it?
I know some netball teams like to keep that flow going. I think Adam at Sunbury Lions said they're one team they sort of come back a little bit scrappy off a week off, and I know my local netball team's the same. That's our driver every time we have a bye. But you look at that sort of thing, so it can be mixed. If you've got sore players, it can work in your favour. But if you're a team that likes to keep that flow going, it could be a disadvantage. But in the end, North Ballarat City, they kept that margin. It got back to I think about 5 or 6 during the game, but they were able to blow that out, and they were able to make Sunbury make mistakes.
Absolutely right there. Another big game on the weekend. We did have East Point Sebas. They fought out an absolutely tight, cliff-hanging type game.
Look, this was the match of the round. So between these 2 sides, I think you look at it, scores were level at half-time, and then East Point with 3 goals up at 3/4 time. They ended up winning by 4 goals, but it was a close one all day. In the end, East Point had 17 more scoring shots, so they could have quite easily been a lot further ahead. It was probably difficult conditions up there. I know it was difficult at different locations. So you look, Sebas had a better shooting percentage, and that sort of kept them in the game. But in the end, East Point were able to get over the line.
I think Sebas would be a little bit disappointed at that because the last couple of years they have mounted a charge, and even talking with Georgia Can at the start of last year, they spent a lot of time building up to a strong 2017 campaign. I think they got bundled out. Well, they made finals, but they didn't capitalise on that. And then they do the same again. I just sort of can't sort of figure out what they're sort of missing that enables them to maybe win a few more games and actually push in that sort of top 3 or 4, where they've certainly got the talent to do so.
Well, I haven't seen Sebas play, so I can't sort of talk about what they're sort of missing, but it's sort of been that gap between them and the top couple of sides.
Yeah.
You look, even heading into finals, they lost the final round of the season to Melton South that didn't play finals.
I think they lost the last 3 games at home and away.
It is, which says they're sort of a middle of the road table, and you look, if you're a middle of the road table, you're probably going to get bundled out in the first week of finals, which is the case.
Would have been good for them. but they were able to run with East Point for most of the game. But East Point, they've had an exceptional year. They finished in 3rd spot, and I think the top 3, they were pretty much settled for a lot of the year.
It was, obviously, I think 2 and 3 could have changed up a little bit late. Yeah. The top side was set for a while and they were sort of the standouts, but then you sort of had that run for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and in the end East Point and North Ballarat were probably clearly the 2nd and 3rd best sides.
This most disappointing game of the weekend, we had Lakers and Bacchus Marsh of quite a one-sided affair between 4th and 5th.
Look, I think it's come to the point that Bacchus Marsh, they're missing probably their 2 best shooters, so, and you take that out of any side, it sort of changes the whole lineup of the side. Katie Kozowski, who's normally a defender for Bacchus Marsh, has had to play in goals, so you take her out of defence, and I think a couple of years ago she was 3rd or 4th in the league best and fairest as a defender, which sort of says you're taking one from one end to help the other end. It's just sort of, Bacchus Marsh made finals, they would have been pleased to make finals, but it was a disappointing end to what had been a pleasing season for them. In the end, comprehensively beaten, they lost every quarter. Lakers were just way too strong.
Exactly, they sort of flexed their muscles very nicely as we turn our attention to this weekend's big games, and we saw this game in the senior footy in week 1 of the finals, and now we get to see this one for a spot in the grand final. It's North Ballarat City v East Point. I believe these two did face off in the 2016 grand final. It went to double extra time, and it was probably one of the most biggest grand finals of all time. It was before my time here at Goldfields, but it's great to see these two Titans face off in a spot in the grand final.
It is, and they've had mixed results this year. East Point won the first game by 8 goals. North Ballarat City won by 5 goals in round 12 the last 20 time they played. So they both entered finals in good form. Not necessarily comprehensive wins, but solid enough wins in the end. East Point probably need to improve their shooting percentage if they get across the line. They had 17 more scoring shots, but only won by 4 goals on the weekend. Against Sebastopol, where North Ballarat City, their dominant first quarter against Sunbury Lions was the key for them. So probably East Point needs to make sure they're on right from the start. Otherwise, North Ballarat City could blow them out of the waters quite early on.
Your tip for this one?
North Ballarat City.
Yeah, I'm gonna get behind North Ballarat City as well. And the final game, which is on the Sunday, we've got Sunbury versus Lakers. Lakers beat Sunbury Lions in the last week of the home and away series.
It is, and obviously that's going to give the Lakers a lot of confidence. They're just one of 2 teams that have beaten Sunbury this year. In the end, and Sunbury look. Speaking with their coach, Adam, he sort of says this may be a blessing in disguise to go through this way. They're expecting to have their full team on the court for possibly the 3rd time this season. So for them, if they can get the win this week and get all the way through grand final, that gives them 3 weeks with their best side together, which they haven't had. So to try and build that consistency and get their side going in the end. So they'll be hoping Tani Adams recovers from a knee injury. She's doing all the right things and slowly progressing. And they will have Kate Fletcher back from VNL commitment. So you get those 2 into the side. That makes a big difference to that Sunbury lineup and gives them a little bit more depth. Obviously their B graders are still in, so they had to take a couple from B grade, but their B graders still got up on the weekend. So it'll be quite interesting how they go there, whether Sunbury can bounce back after 2 disappointing weeks.
Your quick tip for this one?
Look, I think Sunbury will. They've been too good as a side all season not to get up and to go out in the finals in straight sets.
I'm going to jump on the Lake Window bandwagon there just to be a point of difference, but I think it'll be a memorable game. Thanks to our friends at McDonald's. Tara, thanks so much for jumping on board, and we look forward to catching up with you next week to talk up second semi-final election and first semi-final election too.
Thanks for having me.